Investing is a journey. Like it or not, it has become essential to start investing and to protect your wealth. But with the fixed deposits hardly beating the inflation anymore, it doesn't provide you with the tool to appreciate or to grow your wealth. It isn't a worthy product for your investments anymore. So what are your options? How will you boost your returns? Well, before we try to make our portfolio perform better, our primary goal should be to define performance. Obviously, performance cannot be just the returns that the mutual fund gives. It cannot be defined on the return numbers alone, but it has to be defined in a correlation as risk versus returns. Moreover, all portfolio returns has to be with respect to goals. And the biggest metrics that measures performance is when the goals are achieved. That's when you say your investment vehicle has performed. If you're able to achieve your goals, that's when you say your vehicle has delivered. Performance of your portfolio is all about making the best of the broader shifts in the market. Is it easy? No, of course not. But do you have any options? Of course not. So if you need to do it, you've just got to do it. But how? In this video, I've tried to simplify this task in 7 easy steps. And I say it easy, but I hardly reckon how many of us actually do it. And that's where I always say investing is tricky. It is tricky. Every step you take in the financial world is a challenge. And with those challenges comes the next big opportunity. This video will give you an insight, but the next one I post can bring you that next big opportunity. So like this video and subscribe to this channel right now because you don't want to miss it, do you? So the first and the most important factor would be to create a portfolio with a goal in your mind. Build it around a goal. That would give it a focus, that would give it a meaning, that would give it a direction. That should serve as a rationale to your portfolio. So just to give an example, if you have a goal that matures in 3 to 5 years, you cannot have your money parked into equities for that. That's not possible. If your goal is for a longer haul, maybe retirement, maybe your children's education, higher education, you probably can park your money into the market. If you don't do these, you will have a suboptimal portfolio allocation, which is bad for your portfolio's health. As long as your portfolio is aligned to your goals, it is likely to outperform the market as per your perspective. Not taking a risk. That's the bigger risk of all. Where the risk is due, you need to take it. And that is why when your goal is for the longer period of time, you should park your cash in equities. And the simplest reason is because equities, they perform well and they beat the inflation over a longer period of time. This investment in equities has a very minimum downside risk over the longer period of time compared to the time horizon if you stay invested in it. Now, there is a view in this market. We say with age, your exposure to equities should start decreasing, which is true, absolutely true. But also, this may not be true at all. It may not be true for everybody. That's a common theory laid down. But it may not be common, it may not be useful for everybody. Let me give you an example. Let's say a 25-year-old guy, and he has tons and tons of liabilities. And a 35-year-old chap, and he is relieved of all his liabilities from his life. How would these two people react? Or maybe a 25 or a 45-year-old guy. The 45-year-old guy is relieved of all his liabilities. The 25-year-old guy has tons and tons of liabilities. How would these two people react to a market situation? The 45-year-old guy who is relieved of all his liabilities, of all his duties, would have a high risk appetite because there is nothing to lose, whereas there isn't anything who is dependent on him. He can take on more risk. Whereas the 25-year-old guy who is young and probably his parents aren't earning, he has a family, he has children, he could be in a serious situation. He may not have that risk appetite. So the theory of putting in lesser and lesser portion of your portfolio into the equity market as you grow old may not hold good for everybody. The factor is you should be prepared to take risk, and the amount of risk you start taking, it probably proportionately it starts giving you the returns. Managing your expenses. How you invest in your portfolio has a direct impact on the returns that your portfolio gives you. Active management tends to be more expensive than passively managed funds or the index funds. If you have two different funds giving you similar returns, one is actively managed and the other one is an index fund or a passively managed fund, this would be much cheaper. Now the secret is sophisticated investors, they do understand that most fund managers, they fail to beat their respective benchmarks over a very long period of time. If that is true, then why pay 3 times more on an actively managed fund when a passive fund can give you the similar returns at 1/3 the cost? Liquidity. There are 2 occasions when you require liquidity. 1, an emergency fund for an unforeseen situation. And number 2, you need liquidity around your milestones, around the goals that you have set for, like child education, home, marriage, etc., etc., etc. So the strategy should be to shift your investments to more liquid investment options when you actually approach or near your milestone goals, or maybe a couple of years before your actual milestone date appears. Focusing on a passive rule-based approach. The best way to outperform over a longer run is to have a rule-based approach. Like when the markets are high, if you have extra cash, hold on to them. Do not disrupt your SIP, but do not invest more into the market. When the markets are low, the SIP remains as it is, invest more and buy more units. When the markets are high, increase your gold exposure and decrease your equity exposure. The advantage of rule-based approach is that it involves minimum subjectivity and human discretion. Since it's based on the previous calibration data, historical calibration data, the chances of getting it wrong is very less. Keep rebalancing your portfolio on a regular basis. With the rule-based approach that we just discussed, what we are actually doing is we are rebalancing our portfolio. When we sell some of our holdings when the markets are high and we switch over to gold, what happens is we are actually rebalancing it. We are putting out money from the equity market and putting it into another asset to bring back the ratio as it was before. With the markets going up, the allocation into equities has gone up. The allocation in gold has fallen down. You need to sell off some portion from here and put it here to bring back the allocation as it was before. So ideally, your portfolio should be reviewed every year, but you should rebalance your portfolio maybe in 2 or 3 years, or maybe once in 3 or 4 years. This is because if you start rebalancing your portfolio every year, you're going to pay 20% on short-term capital gain tax. जो कमाओगे गवर्नमेंट लेके निकल जाएगा, क्या खाक बचेगा तुम्हारे पास? And this is where it brings us to the last point. is to always plan your returns in post-tax terms. Tax is going to be huge. It is consistently rising and rising after every budget. The government is going to eat everything that you make. And you cannot do anything about it, can you? So whatever the government feels like giving you, you need to plan on that money. If you make 1 crore, the government will take 12.5% on the long-term capital gains on that. The remaining is what you have in hand. Your portfolio, your goal should be based on that remaining money. How much would that be? 87 lakhs? Probably 87, 88 lakhs. That's it. Although you might say you have made 1 crore, but you have not. Actually, you have not. Because you have the government to feed, right? So if you plan your goals, if you plan your final figure number of 1 crore, you'll probably have to make 1.2, 1.3, 1.4. I don't know how much would be the tax after 10, 15 years from now, but you'll have to make more than 1 crore. So after you feed the government, after you feed the liabilities that you have, you will then be left over with the amount that you wanted to achieve. So stick to these basics and you would be very likely to be outperforming the markets over a longer period of time. To know more, I strongly suggest you see these videos here. They would help you understand what you should be doing next. Go ahead, click on them right now. As of this video, adios.